Hey friends, welcome back to Sewing from Scratch. I am Kate and this is where I teach you everything I know about sewing and we learn more together along the way. Today, free patterns. I've tried quite a few. I love a great free pattern. I'm all about free patterns. I think it's wonderful, but I also believe in paying designers for their work. So I wanted to share some of my favorite free patterns that you can try. They're great, especially if you're like a beginner sewer, you don't really want to invest a lot of money, maybe you're not sure, maybe you're doing, it's like a test garment or you plan to hack it like crazy. So free patterns definitely have their place. And we're going to talk about some kids garment patterns and some adult garment patterns today. Before we get started, I do want to say there's a couple places you can look at the end of this video if you're looking for more options. There is a really good Facebook group that I'm part of that I will link in the description box, all for free patterns. And there is also an episode on the Love to Sew podcast all about free sewing. So I will link that below as well. You can check those out at the end of this video. All right, so let's get into it. Kids free patterns. I think if you're on Facebook, probably one of the most popular ones you're going to see is the apple tree beanie and romper. Now, this is actually not on my list. I don't know, I just don't love them. There's other patterns I love more, but I did think they were worth mentioning because they are great starter patterns, and apple tree is a great pattern, especially if you like the grow with me style clothing. I do have a beanie comparison video on my channel, so you can check that out and see which beanie pattern I prefer, and I will link that down in the description box as well for you to check out at the end of this video. So other than that, there's three patterns I really love and I really want to mention. Number one is the petal wrap dress from Twig and Tail. When I first started sewing clothing, same thing, I just didn't want to be spending a lot of money on patterns then. So I purchased this pattern, I had it for so long in my stash and I never used it. And then finally, I think it was last Christmas, I kind of pushed myself to use it. And I was just like, what have I been waiting for all this time? The free version only comes up to size 4, like kids size 4, toddler 4. So I was like worried my daughter was gonna outgrow it. So I tried it and now I'm like kicking myself. I mean, she still will fit the size 4 for quite a while yet, but yeah, definitely love it. I've also hacked it to have ruffles on it. I made this version for my niece for her first birthday, and I just find it to be really easy, quick, so versatile. You can do so many fun things with this. It's reversible. It gets you kind of learning to sew with woven fabric and learning a few different techniques, and you don't have to invest in a pattern. There is an expansion pack that you do have to pay for, but the size up to size 4 is free. Next up, and this is probably the favorite one on my list for kids, is the Anything But Basic tee from Do It Better Yourself Club. If you've been around my channel, you know I love this t-shirt for my kids. It just fits them so well. I will say the long sleeve version, I did make my son one in like a French terry, and it was tight on the arms, and I don't like, I think it's supposed to be more of a t-shirt, not a, you know, a crew neck sweatshirt, so I think that's where I went wrong with that, but I will make sure I account for that next time. But yeah, I definitely love this. It is totally free, and there is an adult, women's and men's versions that you can check out if you want. Those are also free, totally, completely free. And the last one I'm going to mention for kids is the Last Day of Summer Romper. This is, I couldn't actually find like the pattern, but I just loved it and I had to include it here because it is so adorable. We're coming into spring, summer, you know, you probably have people in your life who are expecting babies. You can sew something so adorable up. It makes a great baby gift, and I just wanted to mention it because it's so stinking cute. So let's move on to the adult patterns. I have quite a few more here simply because I sew for myself more, I see more, I know more. We're going into it. Okay, so I want to start with the Patterns for Pirates peg legs. This is another really popular one of the first ones I bought or got when I started sewing garment clothing. I hear mixed reviews on it, but personally for my body, I like it. I have made one version in double brushed polyester. Would not do that again. They just were kind of big. I guess if I sized down a few sizes, maybe they would have been okay. I've also made one pair of bike shorts with the pegs. That was in athletic knit and I love them. So yeah, I do recommend this pattern. There's so many leggings patterns out there. There's ones with gussets. This pattern does not have a gusset, but for a free pattern, I think it is fabulous. And there are add-on options as well with that one. Then the next one that I want to talk about is the one I'm wearing. So this is the Hala Agnes swing top and dress. What a mouthful. It is free when you join their Facebook group. And I love it. I made this shirt just for this video and I'm like, why haven't I made this before? So I made the dress version way back when I still had my sewing blog. So like 2 years ago, and not quite 2 years ago. And I just put the pattern away and I moved on because I have so many patterns. But this is definitely going to be in my rotation now because it is so flattering on my body, I think, and I really am happy with it. So it is a swing style, so it kind of flares out after the bust or the waist, and you can adjust obviously where you want. But I find that Hala patterns, they have measurements right on their pattern pieces. They show you where to cut and adjust if you're doing so for length. I just find them really good, and I think that being able to try one of their patterns for free is amazing, especially since it's such a good pattern. So don't be scared to try the Hala Agnes swing top and dress. Okay, now I'm going to mention this men's PJ pattern I found. I don't love the version I made. I think it's just because I think I made it too big. Like I should have sized down a couple sizes for my husband. So they're really baggy in the waist and in the legs and really just everywhere. Still need to fix that, but I do think they are a good pattern. They're comfortable, they're everything. So that's a good way to get into free pajama making as well. You know, cut up an old flannel sheet or something like that, and you would have a really quick and easy pair of pajama pants with pockets. Also, again, I mentioned it for the kids, but there's the Anything But Basic tee from Do It Better Yourself Club. Free, totally free. Ladies version, men's version, kids version. Whatever you need in your life, go get it. It is free. I was previously using the basic tee from Ellie & Mac, and I just don't love it for the men in my life. I do have some videos on sewing for men that I will link below if you're interested, and I talk more about it then, but I just find the neck really tight for my husband and my dad. So we're going to be trying out the ABB, and I have high hopes because I love it so much for my kids. Okay, there's also the Key West tank top from previously New Horizons design. They are now pattern niche, and you can get this one for totally free on their website as well. It is a nice loose fitting tank top, or I mean you can make it as loose or as tight fitting as you want. It's a really quick sew, really easy, great way to start sewing. There's a couple things I wanted to mention that aren't maybe on my favorites list, and number one is the Ellie & Mac socks pattern. Want to mention it because I feel like they're a good starting point. I think everybody's foot shape is different, and when you buy socks in the store they just magically fit, but they're kind of made that way, and when you're sewing socks it's different. You want the fabric to be the right shape and the seams to be nice and everything like that. So I do find the Ellie & Mac sock pattern to be a good starting point. I have started altering it to fit my foot, kind of been experimenting with stitches and that kind of thing. I will say it is only a high sock, so I have actually cut it down like right off, almost right at the heel mark, and I'm still working on perfecting it, but I do think it is worth mentioning. Number one, because it kind of makes you think like, oh yeah, I can sew socks. So it kind of like raises awareness about sock sewing. And then number two, it is a good starting point for sock sewing if that's something you're interested in. And then lastly, I want to mention the Helen's Closet Luna tank. This looks so awesome. It is like this free flowing, like super floaty tank top. It has a raw hem if you want it to, and it's just like super easy, super quick. So you could probably sew one up in like 10 minutes. I think it is a great free pattern, and you can get that on the Helen's Closet website. All right, so that's all I have for you for free patterns today. If you have a favorite that I didn't mention, let me know in the comments below, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye!